In this video, I'm going to be going over how to safely escape with a decent amount of loot in Dungeonborne. Whenever you spawn in, it's definitely a very good idea to look around. I know that there's nothing behind me, so I don't look behind me, but I do look a little bit to my left, and then I'm looking ahead to see what enemies there are, and to see if there are ever any people. You always have to watch out for people. The easiest way to fight pretty much any enemy, especially if you're playing as a swordmaster, is to hold down a charge attack, attack them, hit them twice more with 2 follow-up attacks, and then back away and wait for the enemy to attack. You're going to see me doing this on pretty much every single enemy in this entire video, and I don't think I'm going to get hit very much by any of them. It works really well, and normally 2 of these, let's say, combos is enough to kill any of the enemies with an uncommon 2-handed sword, which is what I'm using here. I see there's a little goblin hitting me with a crossbow, while shooting at me with a crossbow, and the way to dodge that is just to continuously sidestep in a direction away from the goblin. So I'm continuously sidestepping to the right, and he never hit me with any of his shots. There are definitely going to be ways to dodge the enemies and do combos that maybe kill the enemies a little bit faster, but if you're like me and you don't really know how to dodge the enemy's attacks in the most efficient way and all of that kind of stuff, then the swing, the heavy swing followed up by 2 normal attacks, definitely seems to work quite well on pretty much every single enemy I've encountered so far. I take a second to organize my inventory from all the loot I've got so far. On top of that, I also quickly check what my rings actually do, so I know which passives I'm trying to hit with the buffs from the rings and amulets. I kill another knight, and then I move on to another knight, but this fight's going to be a little bit different. I notice here my sword actually gets stuck on this gate a couple of times, and I don't really want that to happen. So on my 3rd attempt at hitting them with the 2nd attack, I noticed you could actually look down and right, so you could hit him with that 2nd sword swing. So if you move the camera kind of away from the enemy sometimes, it will still hit them, even if you couldn't hit them before. That's just something to be aware of. Now I am going to attack a rat. I think this might actually hit me, it also might not, I can't quite remember. No, I think I got lucky with that first swing there, and then it hit me with the 2nd one. But again, I didn't stick to my own combo there, I didn't back away enough from that 2nd attack. At this point, I hear something going on behind me, so I think there is a player back there. I know he's not behind me right now, so I don't have to super worry about it. I look back down the road that I spawned from, and I'm a little bit confused because I didn't think that there was a door through here or something. I mean, the game hasn't been out for that long, I've only played a bit of the previous beta, and I only have like 2 hours in the game so far right now, so I don't know the map very well, but I could figure out that there's obviously a way to either get into that portion of the building or to get up to the building, and at some point I'm going to see this stairway. So it's always very good, especially if you're a new player that isn't familiar with the map or anything like that, to just constantly be taking in your surroundings. And if you hear an opponent, even if you don't really want to fight them or anything like that, you should just be thinking about, oh, where are they? What route would I have to take to get to where they are? So that's what I'm doing right now, and I do want to fight them, and now I know this stairway is here, so if I ever get that spawn point again, then there's probably going to be another spawn point up by this enemy, because as you can see, they've cleared out a good few enemies on this kind of pathway, so they probably spawned quite close. I have a little look to see what's happening, and then I see the enemy. The Swordmaster's Q skill is to fire 4 swords at an enemy, so that's what I do. I use my E move so that the sword happens and goes around me in circles. I don't know what this person is trying to do. Maybe they tried to quit out, but it seems like they just gave up at that fight there, which I thought was kind of funny. And now I'm basically just going to loot all of this person's stuff. Once that's done, I reload my crossbow because the person had some bolts on them, which I didn't have before. So I just made sure it was reloaded. And then I come across these 2 knights right here. Now I get the audio cue for the knight on the left, and I didn't know that there are 2 of them. But you can still take on 2 enemies at a time here. You don't really have to run away from this fight, because I know I still have that escape route behind me. So I often find that it's very okay to take on multiple NPC or AI enemies at once if you know you have an escape route. And I know I have an escape route. It's quite unlikely that anyone's going to be behind me because I just killed the person there who probably also spawned from that direction. So I think it's possible that a player might appear in front of me, or it's possible... Well, yeah, it's possible that a player might appear in front of me, but I definitely don't think someone's going to appear behind me and block away my exit or something. Block off my exit, rather. So it's very okay to kind of get into, you know, a couple of enemies against you and try and take that fight if you're not low and if you have an escape route. Now, I don't actually know what this thing is. It probably gives you some type of buff. I'm not too sure what particular buff that one gave me. I just used it because I thought that it probably wouldn't be bad. I'm not too sure if it's supposed to be like a HP regen type of thing or like a small damage buff or something. I genuinely don't know. But I used it because I just thought that it probably wouldn't be bad, and I don't think it was. I actually still don't know because it doesn't say anywhere on your screen what it's doing or anything like that, but that's okay. So now I'm probably thinking about trying to leave. Around the 8-minute marker, I think you probably want to start exploring new areas, and even if you're doing that already, you definitely want to try and start looking for a portal. You don't want to be sticking around going for loot or going back through areas you've already been, trying to look for people or something. You want to constantly be going to the newer areas so that you can try and find a portal to get away. In the top right, you can see lots of portals are appearing. And sometimes I find if you keep looting around the 7 or 8 minute marker, you're not going to like find enough new areas to be able to get away rather. And maybe you'll run into an opponent, and that's probably not going to be good. Again, when I'm fighting all of these enemies, I'm just starting off with a fully charged swing, fully charged left click, followed up by 2 uncharged left clicks. I back away, wait for the enemy to attack, and then repeat the process. Again, I know that's probably not the most efficient way of killing enemies, the fastest way, or anything like that. There's probably some really cool ways of dodging the enemies if you, like, crouch and put your head all the way down and stuff like that, like there is in Dark and Darker, but I'm not familiar with any of those techniques yet. So the way that I've been killing enemies is, well, as I've kind of stated a couple of times now, and it seems to work very, very well, and pretty much on all enemies. Like, you've seen knights, I think you saw some goblins earlier, and now you're seeing, I don't know what these are. What would I call these? Like the dress people, the ghosts? Would it be a ghost? I don't know if it's a ghost. The headless ghosts. That's what I'm gonna call it. I don't know what the name of the enemy is. And in front of me there's a boss. So I remember this bro from the betas, and I remember him being quite strong. Well, from the previous playtests, I don't think they were betas. I try and go for a headshot, and that just, it seems to annoy him. And then I think he stops walking towards me at some point, so I'm thinking, oh, maybe I can just keep shooting him, and maybe he's going to stay in that corner. I look behind me to make sure no one's there or no enemies are there or anything like that. Always good to constantly be checking behind you in between attacks. And then I realize this guy is not going to stay in that corner. He's following me. So I back off. I hold my torch out for faster movement speed. If you ever want faster movement speed, always a very, very, very good idea to switch to whatever makes you move the fastest, which I think is probably the torch. I'm not sure if holding a potion would make you move faster, actually. Someone let me know in the comments down below if that makes a difference, but I would imagine that a torch and, you know, like bandages and a healing potion all makes you move the same speed, but I could be wrong with that. It actually probably says it if you look at the torch, though. But anyway, so I run away from that boss, I eliminate this goblin, I open this door, and then I see a portal, and I'm like, oh, there's a portal there. That's very nice. Portals are quite common in this game. I don't think I've died yet to not finding a portal in time, but what tends to happen if you don't continuously explore new areas and kind of backtrack through the areas you've already been, even if there are some enemies that way, is you'll run into someone else, and there won't be a portal there, because maybe it's nearer to the spawn locations or something, I'm not sure, and then there's a chance you're gonna die in that kind of late fight, where you've already got pretty solid loot, and maybe you don't want to be fighting, maybe you just want to get out of the area. But if you find a portal kind of early on, like I have here, with 4.5 minutes left to go, it gives you the chance to decide if you want to keep looting, or decide if you just want to get out. And I actually have like a very solid amount of loot so far. So I think I'm probably going to go with just like getting out of there rather than staying and, you know, taking some risks. I don't know how many coins worth of stuff I've got, but I've got like a decent amount. Plus, this is also like my 5th game as the Swordmaster or something, so it's not like I've got a lot of things in my stash. So some gold would definitely be pretty useful for buying green or even blue tier loot. And what I'm doing here is I'm crouching because the Swordmaster is an elf, which means if you crouch for a couple of seconds, you go invisible, and also you start regenning health while you're crouched. If you move or uncrouch or anything like that, you stop. So I see there's a lot of portals outside, and I just take a second to think if I want to camp that and then maybe fire some swords to someone else if they try and take a portal. But then I'm thinking if I try and loot that body, it's probably not going to go so well for me because there's multiple other portals there, which should attract more players. And then there's also lots of enemies there that maybe I don't want to be dealing with. And maybe someone can come from behind in that room because I'm not entirely sure what's behind me. There might be another route that someone can come from. So, yeah, I mean, there you go. That was just my whole thought process while playing this one game in particular. So yeah, just a very simple breakdown of kind of my thought process during the game. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.